This is video number 2 of a three-part series showing off some 5 for $1 coins I picked up from a really good dealer that I saw at a recent coin show. And in the first video of coins here, the total book value of everything added up to $41.25, and I only paid right at about $6 for it. So in this next video, we've got another 29 coins that cost another about $6, and let's dig in. We're going to start with this coin from Germany during the Weimar Republic years. Zoom in a little bit more here. We've got an aluminum coin here with the eagle. We'll flip back to the other side in a moment, but we've got German Deutschreich 3 mark from 1922. It has an A, which is a Berlin mint mark. There is another version of this coin that's a little bit different. This one adds the date around the edge here. So can't read the word over there on the left, but there's 11th of August, 1922. So this is the version with the Weimar Republic Constitution date. That makes this coin KM29, and it books for $1. While many coins in South America have the peso, in Peru they have the sol de oro, and this is a 1 sol coin. So this is quite a large coin. It's about the size of a United States half dollar. And so this is a design that appeared on a lot of their coins at the time, but here it is, we're able to zoom on it a little bit larger and see we've got a llama, we've got a tree, got a cornucopia on this side. But when we flip it over, we've got Central Bank Reserve of Peru, 1955, 1 sol de oro. This one's KM 222. This particular coin, I was playing kind of a wild goose chase in my coin catalog to try and figure out where this one's from. Of course, around the top it says Africa Equatorial Française. And so the first thing I went to in the catalog was French African states. And it told me no, go to Cameroon. And when I went to Cameroon, it said no, go to the Equatorial African states, even though it still has Française in here. I found that to be a little bit confusing. But this coin from 1958 is KM62. We flip it over for a moment and it says 25 francs. So this design with the larger numbers but a thinner typeface that it uses was a newer design. Something about this coin that makes it a one-year design is the line here that says Institute of Mission. That was only used for 1 year, so that makes this one a little bit harder coin to find. We have our first Queen Elizabeth II coin of this video of one of the places that was under her rule. We flip this one over, and this one is from the British Caribbean territories. I thought I long ago had all of the circulating coins from the British Caribbean territories Eastern Group, but not the half cent, which didn't last very long. So this one was from 1955. And as you can tell here, it's in decent condition. So this coin is KM1, the first coin they produced, and in this condition, it's worth $2. In the last video, I had a coin that looked just like this one, except it was from New Caledonia. This one has the same design on this side, 1967, the only year that the letters IEOM were not produced underneath the portrait on this particular coin. That last one was New Caledonia. This one is French Polynesia. This is the 50 francs coin. This one is a one-year coin since it didn't have the letters IEOM on it. And from 1967, this is KM number 7, and it books for $1. And French Polynesia here is Tahiti and Bora Bora and surrounding areas. When I found this one, I was pretty sure that I didn't have a coin from this area. It turns out I did, but we've got another coin with Queen Elizabeth II on it, 1981. With the shrimp, we've got Turks and Caicos Islands. And so I didn't realize I had any coins from Turks and Caicos Islands. This is actually my second one. And something else that I find interesting about it is the denomination here is a quarter crown. And so that's not something that you see very often. A crown in Britain in 1981 was going to have a value of 25 cents. So what is a quarter of 25 cents? Well, that doesn't really make a lot of sense, I suppose. But even on the old system of, it's like a quarter of a pound. So it's like 1/16th of a pound. But even with the pre-decimal system of the 60s and older, a crown was 5 shillings. And so 1/4 of 5 shillings is doesn't really make a lot of sense either. So that's something that would be a denomination not seen in most other British controlled territories. This one's going to be KM 51. Here's a larger coin from a British controlled area. This one is East Africa, 1941. It's going to have a value of 10 cents on it. And instead of having a portrait, it just tells us George VI, King of India and Emperor, written in Latin on the right side, but it does spell out 10 cents on this side. It has a picture of the crown. There are two versions of this coin. This one is catalog number KM26.1, and the .1 is the thicker flange. So this is the thicker version of the coin. In later years, they made it a little bit of a thinner version of this coin. This coin turned out to be one of my favorites of the video. This is on this side, the only thing in English we can read is 25 centimes, which means it is a French controlled area. It has a little bit of Arabic writing on the back, but we'll come back to this side. When we look on this side, it's a little bit easier to identify if you recognize the Empire Cherifian that's written on this side. That means it is Morocco. So this 25 centimes coin is from 1924 and is KM 34.2. So the 0.2 means that there is this little squiggle, or it's called a lightning bolt in some of the catalogs, right there above the centimes. And so there are a couple of different versions where it's either missing or it's to the left or the right of the centime. So one thing that I found was interesting about this coin was I assume that it's not been cleaned because the upper, normally I would think a coin that looks like this would be cleaned because the higher raised elevated points of the coin are brighter, and in kind of in the recesses of the coin it looks darker. It maybe it's cleaned, but to me it just doesn't look it. I'm certainly not an expert of that, but it also to me makes it look like something that's made out of pewter. I've seen this design in pewter where it's like the valleys have a darker look to them. The raised areas look a little bit brighter, just in my opinion. But I'm going to say this one is not cleaned. It is made out of copper nickel. And if it's not clean, then this one has a book value of $8, which is the best out of the series so far. If it was uncirculated, this coin would have a book value of $40. So I thought this one is quite nice. Here we have a George VI coin, King and Emperor, written on this side. We flip this one over, and we see that it is from South Africa, or Sweet Africa, 1939. The denomination here is 1/4 of a D, which is how they abbreviate 1/4 of a penny, or also equal to 1 farthing. But they are going to call it a 1/4 of a penny there in South Africa. 1939 KM23. This one books for $1.50. And we've got another George VI coin. This time is on a squared coin. George VI, King and Emperor of India, but it's not India, but instead somewhere else nearby. Ceylon, which is today Sri Lanka. 5 cents, 1945, and a couple of different alphabets around the edges here. This one is KM 113.2. And the .2 means that this is the thin version of the coin. And this one is made out of nickel brass. When I was growing up, the Soviet Union initials were USSR, but in their language, it looks like it is, or in their alphabet, it looks like CCCP. And it's got their hammer and sickle on it. This one is an earlier design of the 20 kopeck coin from 1936. This one's going to be Y number 104, and this one books for $1. We had a design of this coin in the last video, but here again we have the French overseas territory design. This time it's dated 1949. The woman seated in the throne holding a torch in one hand, holding a cornucopia in the other hand. There are a couple of faces of lions on the edge of the throne. On here, this coin is going to be a 2-franc coin from what is today called French Polynesia, but there in 1949 they called it the French establishments of Oceania. So this one's going to be KM3, and now that I have this coin, I have a complete set of coins from Oceania. This was the only one that I was missing. I think there were 4 in total. I think there was the half-franc, 1, 2, and 5 to make up the complete set. All of them are in aluminum. For our next Queen Elizabeth II coin, we have this one made out of brass. Flip this one over. And we have the Bailiwick of Jersey, showing the 3 lion design here from 1957. The value of this coin is 1/4 of a shilling, which is an actual coin that the British were making with their pre-decimal coins. 12 pence made a shilling, so 1/4 of a shilling would in Britain be called a 3 pence, but instead of calling it a 3 pence, they call it a 1/4 of a shilling, or instead of a 1 pence, they would call that coin the 1/12 of a shilling. And I think at one point they even had we were looking at the farthing earlier, so that would have been 1/48 of a shilling, and they even had a half farthing that they called 1/96 of a shilling. So they like to base everything on the shilling there in Jersey. This coin is 1957 KM22, and it is books for $3. Later versions of this coin, instead of being round, were made 12-sided. Earlier we had the 10-cent coin from East Africa. Now we have the 1 shilling. Unfortunately, this one has a little bit of corrosion on it, but it's from 1949. It shows a lion in front of a mountain peak in the background. Flip this one over, and we have George VI King. King is Rex in Latin here. So this coin from 1949 is KM31 and is made of copper nickel. It's another coin that looks like maybe it was made out of silver, but really is not. We've reached the halfway point of this particular video, and I want to say that the coins shown here are not in any particular order. It just happens to be the order that I looked them up. So let's kind of scoot everything back on the screen here just to see what we've got left in this video. Next up, we've got this coin from Mexico. I'm going to start by looking at the side we're more familiar with. This is a denomination that we see very often, but this one's a little bit different. This is the 5 centavos coin, centavos coin from Mexico, but in 1950, instead of making this coin out of copper or brass, they made it out, instead of copper or brass, they made this one out of a copper nickel version of this coin. So this one is not sure why they did that, and they decided that they didn't want to use that too much anymore. So since this coin is a different color, because it's a different metal content than most of the other versions of this coin, the lady shown here is Josefa. So this coin has been nicknamed the White Josefa coin, And since Mexico didn't want many of these out there anymore, they tried to melt most of them, but it's estimated about 100,000 of them made it out. This one is, I've had this coin, but this one is easily the best condition version of this coin that I've got, to the point where this actually books for $8 or more than what I paid for everything in this video. So this one is really close to uncirculated. This coin is from Brazil. We've got the name here, M-A-U-A. So this is Vincent de Maua on this coin from Brazil. We'll flip this one over. And we've got a steam train. Brazil 1937 200 race. KM 537. Here we have a coin from Haiti, where they have the French words around the edge here, but in the middle they've got a palm tree, a couple of cannons, flags, cannonballs in the front, and a banner with a motto there at the bottom. This one's going to be a 20 centimes coin, and their coins usually do show the current leader of the time. This one is from 1956, and the person pictured here is President Magliore. And I mentioned earlier that there weren't any silver coins in this video or in this dealer's box. I'll take that back to say this one had a trace amount of silver added to the nickel of this coin. So I don't think they did that very often, but this one is KM number 61. Again, we have a coin that says George VI, King and Emperor of India. Shame that we've got that kind of corrosion spot there to the right of the head, but flip this one over. We've got Ceylon 1 cent from 1945. This one is KM 111A. Now, this version of the coin is made out of bronze, but the version without the A that's just 111 is made out of copper. Back to an aluminum coin. This is from Austria, or in their language it's spelled Österreich. We have the eagle here, and it's significant that at the two talons of the eagle, or let's say the feet, it's breaking up the hammer and the sickle, breaking up the chains of that. So it's freeing themselves from the Soviets or the Russians at that time. So there is a 1 shilling coin that's pretty easy to find, but the 2 shilling is not as easy to find. This one's from 1946, and they've made a lot of coins. This is KM number 2872. Most of the coins that you find from Luxembourg will spell their country Letzburg, but this one actually does say Luxembourg, so it's a coin that if you're familiar with it, you'll at least recognize it when you see this. We've got the crown here of the fighting or dancing lion here. We've got the crown that is shown on top. We flip this one over, and it is 25 CTS, which stands for centimes. This was a 1-year coin made out of copper nickel, and it is KM 37. In the next video, there's going to be another version of this coin with a slight difference. So far in this video, we've had a lot of coins from places ruled by France and Britain, but this is our first one, place ruled by the Portuguese. This coin has a value of 5 avos, and that country is Macao. Usually Americans spell it M-A-C-A-O, but they have the last letter there of a letter U. I like to think of this as a lot like Hong Kong, which the British controlled for a while, but as a kind of a small area next to China. This one is from 1952. It's the first coin from Macau, so it's KM1, a 1-year bronze coin, and then version 1A in later years was made out of nickel brass. And this one books for $1. For our next coin that has a strange value to it, this one is from the Republic of Venezuela from 1958. We see the crest that we see on a lot of Venezuelan coins here from this time period. We flip this one over and it is 12.5 centimos. So that seems kind of strange, but if you think about it, that's half of a 25. And so that helps us out a little bit. This would be essentially 1/8 of a peso. And so that goes back to the time where the when you would have the 8 reals would be about the Spain's equivalent of the $1 or the 1 British crown. And so with their system of time for a long time, having the 8 reals as their main currency, this would have been 1 real since it's 1/8 of a peso. So kind of hard math on this one, but this one didn't last too long, but I don't know how long this survived past the real system, maybe a few decades. This one is KM39. This is a 1-year coin, and there is a variation here in the number 2. It's called the knobbed 2 variation. Here is our next coin from a place ruled by the Portuguese. This one is a 20 centavos coin from Caledonia de Angola from 1948. And there are other versions of this coin where it just says Angola, doesn't have the colonial or Colonia de in front of it. That's because this is the 300th anniversary of the rebellion, I think, of Angola. So let's see, 1948 minus 300 is whatever happened in Angola. It happened in 1648. Here is our next French-controlled aluminum coin. This time it's the 50 centimes, so it is, or half a franc, so it's a lot smaller of a coin. This one's 1949. Doesn't say half a franc, but it does say 50 centimes, and this is another one from Nouvelle Caledonia. KM1, this one books for $1. An interesting bird there with its wings spread out. Here's a coin from Denmark. It is 25 ore. And for a few years, they have the little swirly design there on either side of the hole. This one's from 1934, Christian X as the ruler. And this one is KM 823.2. Here is over 100-year-old coin from Austria that doesn't have a lot of, doesn't really have any words on it, just has the year of 1916, has the number of 10. So it doesn't actually tell us that this is 10 Heller. And when we flip it over, it doesn't have the name Austria on it either. But if you were from Austria, you would probably recognize the 2-headed eagle that is shown in this coin. This is a coin made out of copper and nickel and zinc. There is another version of this coin that does not have the shield in the very middle of the double-headed eagle. So this one is KM 2825. So here's a coin from the government of Pakistan soon after it was no longer part of the Ottoman Empire. The large symbol there in the middle represents the Ottoman Empire. It has the 3 vertical lines in the middle, the 2 large curves on the left, and the kind of the 2 lower lines on the right. That means that it's a country that was part of the Ottoman Empire, or if it's older, it's an actual coin of the Ottoman Empire. So this one is going to be half a rupee, not silver. And this one is KM number 6. Here is a denomination that you really don't see very often, the 4 centavos. Now, it might make sense where you've got a non-decimal system, but I think Portugal was on the decimal system at this point. So this was when they had the escudos, and I think 100 centavos making up the escudos. So not sure who decided a 4 was a good value of a coin, but in 1917 they must have thought that was okay. It was a denomination made for only 2 years. Flip it over, and on this side all we have is this portrait of some random young lady. This one's going to be KM 566. Early in this video we had another coin from the Equatorial African states, and we're going to finish this video also with a coin from the Equatorial African states. However, instead of saying Equatorial African states on the coin, instead it's going to actually list off all of the countries that are made up here. So let's see, probably easier to start on this side. Chad, we don't spell it with the T in front. Gabon, Congo, and Central African. So I think that's the Central African Republic. That's got the rep right there. So this one's from 1961. Of course, it has Central Bank at the top. I believe that's 3 gazelles on here. So flip this one over. The other coin was a 25 francs. This one is 50 francs. And this one is KM number 3. Has a book value of $2. And so coming into this video, all the coins from video 1 had a book value of $41.25. This one was almost as good, but not quite. This one turned out to have a value of $38.25. You add those two together, and you've got $79.50, and I've paid about $11 up to this point. So there is a third video that's going to be made in this series, and I'm going to post it in a couple of days. So thanks for watching. Bye.